How are you guys doing? Hey, Mark.
Good. Good to see you. Hey, Thaddeus. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. I noticed that last week you weren't able to make it, Mark. So I have the video for you available to watch. I don't know if you saw the post there on School.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out the how to do it. Trying to do from my phone or from my computer, wherever I'm at. So
Gotcha.
yeah. So thank you. Yeah. If you, how do I get the link of last week?
It is in the module. So here, I'll show you real quick. So if you just
What up,
go,
guys?
hey, Daniel. So if you go into the classroom and you scroll down to the Legends of Stoicism, and then you'll see all these different modules, week 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You can see
Yes.
last week's boom right there.
Okay. Great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, I catch it. Thank you. I'm going to mute because there's a lot of noise behind me. So
Okay. Let's see. We've got Angel and Caleb, it looks like. There's Angel. Hey, Angel. Okay, so there's Angel, and now.
Yo, Thaddeus, I'm at the gym, so I'm not gonna talk.
Okay.
It's cool, right?
have a good workout.
Okay, we'll see. I haven't heard from Caleb at all. Um, Perhaps what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and get started. And we'll if he comes in, he'll come in. Otherwise, we'll have the video ready for him next time. Okay, so this. Oh, where's Daniel? Where did he go?
I think we're missing Daniel, Rama,
Rama said he'll
and
be
Caleb.
online in a second. Like, I mean,
Okay.
I see he's online, but I think he meant like with his video or something. Yeah, Angel.
Yo, Thaddeus, you saw what Brandon posted on the community?
Yeah, I did.
He's excited for tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm missing out. What happened?
You'll find out. You'll see it tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Alrighty. Well, what we'll do then is we'll just go ahead and get started, and they'll jump in when they jump in. So this week's reading was books 7 through 9 for meditations, and this was much more of a mortality perspective as well as a morality perspective in regard to the actual readings themselves. And he gave a lot of insight on the the how to perceive morality, how to perceive death, and all of these different kinds of things. So what I wanted to do is what we've been doing for the last couple weeks here is open the first little bit as far as a anybody that wants to start out with where any particular verses that stood out with to them or with any particular ideas that they wanted to ask about or expand on to the group before we get into the task sheet. Anybody have anything that stood out to them? Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I really like the the part where he talks about philosophy and where you're not obligated to follow people like Alexander, and he said Demetrius and somebody else who I don't know who those are, but I think with Alexander he was talking about Alexander the Great.
Yeah, do you happen to have the book and verse for it?
Yes, it's
That was book 8, wasn't it?
book seven,
Book 7, verse.
book seven, verse, or I guess you'd say section
Yeah.
29, where he does the whole thing about the universe, where it sweeps you up and you don't, you're subject to the universe, and to basically not go after, vain glory, so to speak, to try and be like the great leaders of, like Alexander and whatnot, but to be humble.
Mm-hmm.
He says at the end, philosophy is a modest and simple profession. Do not entice me to insolence and pride. I really like that.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing with philosophy and the sophists, as we talked about in the past, here in the class series, where the sophists are all about the vanity, selling knowledge just to sell it, whereas a true philosopher is not caught up in the vanity of it. Yeah, that's a good one. Others?
Yeah, I like how he just, like right at the beginning of the task sheet, for nothing that does not enter my mind and get within me can hurt me. Hold to this and you are safe. You see that a lot through different philosophies in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It's, it's all comes down to your attitude and your intentions.
Yeah.
Right there. Control the things that you can control and then hand the rest over to God.
Yeah, there was a lot of Bible cross sections here, you could say, uh, within these books, particularly. I actually even mentioned the Bible again later down the line here. It was in book 9, I believe. Yeah. It was, let everybody's fault lie at his own door. Well, that kind of goes in line with, if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. So it's a very, very similar frame of view of what's going on spiritually. But yeah, that's a good one as well. Because if you don't, here's the thing about Stoicism that it's so appealing for everybody, I think, and this is also where a lot of people get kind of they have a misconception about Stoicism, is that it's not that they don't get hurt or they don't feel anything. It's that they understand that their soul is safe if they don't have something entering their mind. Because I said in here, Marcus Aurelius seems to suggest that if something enters through the mind, it can be alleviated through the mind. So, apart from the opinions of ourselves and from others, what are some other things that you can think of that only enter through the mind? Or is it everything that enters through the mind?
Most most everything, how you react, is really your perception of it. You know, how many times have you yourself or you see other people making a big deal out of basically nothing? If it's something they can't control, and then they're just wasting all their time trying to fix it, you know, what's the point? And then they just waste a bunch of time, energy, and resources trying to fix it when they can just, you know, adopt the mindset of, I'll do what I can, you know, to minimize the effect, but beyond that, there's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably most people's problems are overreaction to something that they can't control.
Yeah, he does talk about this later down the line as well. He talks about grumbling, and people grumble. I know I put it in here. Can't remember where exactly it was. Yeah, there it was. Yeah, if you can mend the cause, set about it. If not, mend the thing itself. And if you can't not even do that, then what are you better for grumbling? I kind of like that. Goes in line with what you were just talking about, Philip. What else was standing out to you guys in the reading? Oh, what the heck? I didn't even get the... Sorry, guys. I didn't even see that there were people with their hands up. Angel? Usually I'll get notified like there's a bing. Daniel?
Yeah, no, I agree with Philip. And to your question, I think everything enters the mind first. And when you said about how a lot of this reading reflects to the teachings in the Bible, there was another line that he talks about injury a lot and not to injure others. It's on IX. I don't know what IX is, 9?
9, yeah.
Yeah, on verse 4, he talks about he that injures his neighbor hurts himself, and that's similar to Jesus' teaching.
Yeah.
And another thing that reminded me of the Bible is that it kind of repeats itself in different forms, like in the Proverbs when we read, where the same type of wisdom comes in different forms, in different wording. Yeah.
Yeah, good note. Auntie?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to comment and I wanted to say that I agree with that, Tadeusz, when you said that when something doesn't come to your mind, it protects your soul or something like that. You know, I agree with that because like sometimes we can have negative thoughts or some negative thoughts, but sometimes when I am just like, it is what it is, my mindset is like, it is what it is, you know. So it's a lot of easier to handle the thought in this way. So that's what I wanted to comment.
Yeah, that's a good insight. Liza?
Yeah, just a little insight. I think that everything enters through the mind. I think that's why everyone is different. You see different cultures are different kids that were raised differently. Everything comes through the mind. And the reason I say that, I didn't Google anything. I think it's because even when you're learning a language, like some people that are bilingual, like they have a parent that speaks French and the other one English, and all of a sudden they end up speaking both languages. So I think everything enters through the mind. That's why everyone is like, don't go on TikTok. Be careful with Instagram. For the youth, they're like telling us not to give them devices because it's going to do something to their mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I think bringing up social media with this is a good point because the social media landscape, it is a digital civilization, and that is a part of the collective consciousness for sure, and part of the mind as well. Rama?
Yeah, I also just want to add on to what Philip said about reaction or adverse reaction, overreaction, all these will lead to more problems, especially in relationship with our spouse or others. And if the other person is of the attitude that my way is the way and always very arguing type, then maybe we have to take a very stern silence to convey our view. Because we react, it can combo, it can backfire on us, and then create more problems for us, right? So it's all of us have to work on observing self-control and reactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, the observation of self-control is a big theme throughout these books, and part of what has to deal with his ethics is being able to see that you can self-control. You have that ability to observe. Yeah, Mark. Are you?
There, can you hear me?
There we go. Yep.
Is that better? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of, just some points about Marcus Aurelius and other great people is that I find when they speak the truth, he has so much truth in his teachings and his philosophy that I believe, this is just my belief, that all truth is God's truth. And so he's just uncovered and discovered so much of it. I mean, you're mentioning earlier some of his sayings are very closely or similarly related to passages in the Bible. And I think, for a lot of people that are closed-minded, and I know a lot of religious people, I've been involved with a lot of type organizations, churches, they become very closed-minded, and they don't want to, they won't acknowledge that. They won't acknowledge if Eastern wisdom, if there's truth in it. They just paint with a broad brush, and I think it's unfortunate because they miss out on so much, the same as somebody who was just avowed anti-God or anti-Bible. They would miss out on so much truth. So that's my point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And that's one of the reasons why, we have in the Regal Change Academy and all the people that I've worked with and one-on-one, I've worked with people that are Hindus, Buddhists, Muslim, Christian. I've worked with all different kinds of people that affiliate themselves with different religions. I've even worked with New Age people. And whatever comes back to me with all of this stuff is that I approach it from a place of spirit and truth. And as you mentioned, Mark, where God's truth, like all truth is just God's truth. I think that is exactly what spirit and truth is all about. And in John 4:24, it says that those that truly worship God worship in spirit and truth. And I think that open-mindedness is really missing, as you said, from most religions and such, which is why this academy in of itself is also about spirit and truth. I don't really care who you affiliate with and whatnot. All I care about is, are you going to be pushing and forcing your way and your perspective onto others? And if you are, then we're not going to tolerate that. But we can have a dialogue where we can discuss it. And are you willing to put yourself really to the test and to be who you're meant to be? What I've told people is being in the academy, like being in a group like this, for example, it's about reminding you who you really are to some degree. It's not always about trying to get this great insight, at each second you can. I do want to pack in as much value into each second as possible for you guys, but I also understand that this kind of class is meant to remind us who we really are at the end of the day. Philip?
Yeah, when you study, like Mark makes a good point. You have so many Christians that are just completely closed-minded to anything else. But if they read the works of the Stoic philosophers, especially the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, I mean, the parallels between that and like especially the Book of Proverbs. I mean, it's basically the same thing. It says so many things match up with that. And then I tried to get Christians to read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, but they just won't do it. And it's like, if you read that book, you wouldn't be such a loser all the time. Okay? And then they sit there and they whine and complain about the way things are, and it's because you don't know how to fight, you don't know how to prepare to fight, and even worse, you don't know how to win. And I said one time that I think the Art of War should be added to the Old Testament. And some guy just totally blew a gasket on that, and he said, I think about it. What would Joshua and Caleb do if they had booked The Art of War? They'd love it. I mean, if you want to talk about godlike savages, Joshua and Caleb are it. So yeah, it's when you close your mind off to great philosophy and stuff like that. Even if you call yourself a Christian, you're just going to end up being a loser. There's just no two ways around it.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible is obviously number one, but you need all these other sources to help reinforce that and give you some different perspectives.
Yeah. Angel?
Yeah, it's so true what Philip was saying, that most Christians are closed off, because I remember I was trying to put a Christian onto the Book of Enoch, and then he started to condemn me, and he said I was going to go to hell for it. So I'm like, damn, like, this is how sheep operate? Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm literally giving information that was supposed to be in the Bible, and this dude is condemning me, saying that it's not Christ-like. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And he's like, so yeah, bro, if you don't stop reading that, I'm telling you, demons are going to enter into you, this and that. I'm like, yo, this dude sounds fucking retarded, bro. I cut ties immediately.
Yeah, Philip?
Yeah, I've mentioned the Book of Enoch to people, and they have the same reaction that Angel's describing. I says, well, the Book of Enoch is canon in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, and it's like, so does that make them any less of a Christian?
Yeah. Yeah, I was on a call with somebody that I meet with pretty regularly for one-on-ones, and he was saying that he is with this guy at work, and they were talking about, because they both consider themselves Christian, but one doesn't believe that Christ is God in the flesh. He said, and he also believes that you should only read from the ancient Arabic texts of the Bible, and that all of the other versions are wrong. And this guy was asking me, like, is he right? And it's like, well, is he right? I don't think that's the right question. I don't think that's the right question. The question ought to be, is that kind of view going to contribute to expanding and renewing your mind, like the Bible says? Are you going to be, because in the Bible it says be constantly renewed by your own mind. If you were to just say that to somebody without the context of the Bible, it doesn't matter what religion it is. If you were to just say, it is a good thing to be constantly renewed by your own mind, that's actually sounding pretty stoic, right? Like, that sounds like a pretty stoic idea and a pretty practical advice as well. And this person said, well, probably not. And I said, well, then why are you listening to these people that are acting like NPCs? Like, why are you listening to what these NPCs are saying when clearly they're not, are they happy with their lives? Well, not really. It's like, well, okay then. Like, what do you, like, what do you, if you want to take advice from somebody that isn't even fulfilled, sure, maybe they don't have everything, but they're not even feeling fulfilled. How can you be spiritually fulfilled from somebody that doesn't even feel spiritually fulfilled? And that's one of the great things about Marcus Aurelius is that dude is spiritually fulfilled. Like, there's no doubt about it. Reading through his this text, is he is absolutely 100% spiritually fulfilled. And it goes back to the begrudging or the grudge thing, or where was it? Oh yeah, grumbling. A lot of people, they can't mend the cause that they see needing to be mend, even though it's perhaps not even actually a cause. But then they don't want to mend the thing itself, so then they just grumble. And so Marcus Aurelius says, well, then what's the point, why even acknowledge this philosophy? Why even acknowledge this whatever if you're just going to grumble about it? Yeah, Daniel?
I just want to say to that point, I think some people are just have given up on life, or like they haven't accepted reality.
What makes you say that?
Well, I feel like I was at that point in my life too before I started to like take care of myself and work on myself. I didn't want to accept the nature of reality.
Well, yeah, it's a hard thing to accept for sure if you're not used to it. Yeah.
So it's easy to just say fuck the world, and I wish I wasn't born, or like I don't know, I don't have to do anything, like all that grumbling.
Yeah, it's a good point. Philip?
Yeah, this is, again, like we were talking earlier, this is where reading something like The Art of War comes in, okay? That can give you some strategies to deal with the things that you cannot change, or maybe even give you a strategy to change that very thing. And then, like, my favorite quote from Art of War is, in the midst of chaos lies opportunity. So when everything else is falling apart, I'm just thinking, okay, how can I exploit this situation for my benefit? Because just last night I had a conversation with people about the financial markets, and they were all flipping out, and I said, like, you're 26 years old. Having the markets go down is your opportunity to make money. You're putting money, in through our retirement plan. You're putting money in when the market is down. You have the luxury of time to wait it out for it to go back up. Trust me, in 10 years you'll thank me for it.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point in of itself, is because, nobody really knows, I don't think, what's going to happen with the tariff situation. And, the whole market is crashing and whatnot because of it. But at the same time, yeah, this is the time to take advantage, or to just sit back and enjoy the show. I mean, what else are you gonna do, man? Angel?
Yeah, I truly agree with Daniel. A lot of people they're just giving up at this point. Cause like I remember I had this one guy I used to trade with, and he told me personally like he'd be going to the club every weekend just to get out of reality. That's what he told me, and I'm like, are you serious, bro? He's like, yeah, bro. I be going every Saturday, and I'm like, why though? He's like, bro, I'm just tired of life, bro. He's tired of like all the problems that he got to go through and all of that, and I'm like, damn, like people like take they don't appreciate. I realize a lot of people don't appreciate life. Like, there's people like in wheelchairs and all that, and they wish that they could walk, and then there's like people that are fully healthy and all that, and they just want to kill themselves. Like it's crazy to me. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like people in America too as well are giving up. I'm starting to see that because you could look at the social media consumption and all that. They're just trying to get out of this real life reality to be the AI world because the AI world is full of pleasure and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, lots of good points there. The AI world.
Yeah, I was cooking real quick.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were. Yeah, the AI world. I'm certain that AI will become a god for many people in the near future. I also think that what you say is true about how, like in the Book of Eli, you sent that clip of the Book of Eli yesterday in the Telegram group chat, Angel, and I kind of went on a little tirade of watching these Book of Eli clips because I've never seen it before, and it was a fascinating story. It's a fascinating story. Anybody that doesn't know what the Book of Eli is, it's a movie about a post-apocalyptic world, and this guy is carrying around the last Bible, and he's just being led by God to take it to this place. And it's a very, very intriguing story. I'm very curious to actually watch the movie itself. But in that clip that you sent, Angel, it said that we, like, what was the world like? Because one of the characters asked the guy, "What was the world like before, whatever this is?" And they said, "Well, people threw away things that they would kill each other over for now, stuff like that." Yeah, Angel, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, like I said, we're living in a time that a lot of people, they just don't value anything anymore, like relationships. Don't you see there's dudes in relationships, they need more pussy. You see what I'm saying? They need more hoes, they need more bitches, they need all this, they need this. And then they have it, and they still are unfulfilled. So it's like, they're stuck in a loop. You see what I'm saying? You see how back in the day, like, our grandparents, they stuck together, they've been through it all, ups and downs and all that. And if they did cheat, it was probably with another partner and that's it. Now, these relationships, man, both sides is cheating. So it's like, it's over with. But I think what Eli is so true because I realize a lot of people don't value food or none of that anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like, I remember when I was growing up, we had a New Year's party and these people bought like 30 trays of food and they all threw it out and nobody ate that. And I remember my mom was there, and she was saying, like, damn, that's crazy. Meanwhile, you got people starving in, like, DR and Africa and all that. And they wouldn't appreciate shit like that. You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem. A lot of people don't appreciate simple things anymore.
It's true. Auntie?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to comment on Daniel comment. I understand, and I understand what you mean, that the reality can sometimes be very hard to carry the reality, but I think it's easier to take, if somebody is living in false reality, or I think we all know the term that we use, the Disneyland or the Candyland, So, my battery is going to die. So you can take like steps, little steps, you are taking steps away from it, because if you try to switch everything at once, it can feel very overwhelming. Like, if there is a fat person who is like, that realizes that, yes, I'm a fat person and I cannot get fit, he realizes that he's living a lie. And now he will start to switch to the real world, like with smaller steps. So, and it will be easier when you switch to the reality, like step by step. Like, I don't know if anybody can relate, but at least that has been working in my life. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate with that. Daniel?
Yeah, I definitely relate to that, Auntie. And to Angel's point about the AI thing, I just wanted to say the AI world. I was watching this video and I went into this like little rabbit hole. And so there's this guy that Peter Thiel endorses, and he's writing about this new future world where basically if you don't do what the society wants from you, you can be put in a pod, and like basically you live in a pod with VR, and then my question was like, how do you get fed and all of these things? But I guess it would be intravenous way. But like this shit, like the Matrix, where like the humans are used as batteries, like that shit is very much a possibility. And the way these people are putting it, they try to make it look like that's okay. And also, I think there are people that would take that life, as Angel said. They would rather live the VR life in this pod, depend and this fake reality. And also, the reality could be a terrible reality based on, because it could be a punishment. They force you to live in this, it could be a terrible reality, like some sort of Black Mirror episode. But yeah, I just wanted to say all that shit is very much a possibility.
Yeah, the Black Mirror episode thing really stands out. Have you seen the Black Mirror episode with the social credit score? Where?
Yeah, nosedive.
Yep. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. It's been years since I've seen that, but yeah, I remember that one very, very vividly because I was like, that's like already happening. Like that's already happening, man. Oh, it's crazy. Philip.
Yeah, just wanted to make a comment that Angel made about our grandparents and whatnot, sticking it out. Well, if you've ever been to a small town funeral, I grew up in a small town, and if you've ever been to a small town, you watch people's reactions, and then you can say, oh, that was Grandpa's side chick over there, and then that was Grandma's backdoor man over there. If you don't know the term backdoor man, it was when when Grandpa was leaving for work out the front door in the morning, her other man would be coming in the back door. So, yeah, it wasn't any different back then.
Yeah, just not quite as open. Angel?
Yeah, honestly, I do agree with Philip, but I don't know, like, I feel like there was, like, some women that actually were, like, serious, because, like, my grandma, for example, from my mom's side, like, she always taught, her daughters to, like, respect themselves and all that, and I remember, my mom was telling me one time that, because it was a thing in our culture, Elijah knows what I'm talking about, but, pretty much, there was one time some dude, like, he wanted to smash my mom's, like, he wanted to fuck her, and my mom told him no straight up, and he was advancing on her and all that. And she said no, because I'm with my dad. And then when she told me that, I'm like, yo, like, that is crazy. Like, you're the last dying breed of women I ever seen in my life. And she started laughing. She's like, yeah, honestly, it just comes down to a choice. Like, you do it or you don't do it. You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem with most of these women is that they don't got self-control. I think that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. At the end of the day, I'm not going to say nothing else because, at the end of the day, there's some dudes that know how to talk and they know how to get in their pants, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Liza, you had your hand raised and up and down a few times now.
Yeah, I thought I'd raise. I agree with Philip, his comment about like in the past, the backdoor situation and all that. I think that, and this is just a common opinion, I think that now with social media, that's why people are just like, F it, free range. We're just gonna go ahead and do whatever. So now instead of being hiding and very proper, it's like I don't care. I have 3 boyfriends, and I think that's a norm. And I have a little comment for tomorrow during our call. But yeah.
Philip?
Yeah, but you notice one thing that we've talked, Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius do talk quite a bit about sexual temperance. So all of this funny business goes back a long ways. Mm-hmm. It's nothing new.
Yeah, and I mean, even in the Bible, where it talks about, and in the Bhagavad Gita, it also talks about that as well. Angel.
Yo, you know what I'm starting to realize? Yo, we chilling at the end of the day. You know, this single life will save us out of a lot of issues, bro. Because I left just today, and some girl, like, she was with her boyfriend, and she was choosing on me like crazy, bro. And you know what? Yo, honestly, I just want to thank God that, like, I'm single right now, because I don't want to go through that embarrassment. You see what I'm saying? Like, can you just imagine you were your girl, and automatically she's just choosing, like, at another guy right in front of you? Like, how would you feel? Like, I ain't gonna lie, like, I'll be like, damn, like, nah, I'm breaking up with this bitch. She literally disrespected me, you know, in front of the whole gym and all that. Cause she did that in front of like 5 dudes, bro. And all the dudes were looking at me like, yo, this bitch is wildin'. You see what I'm saying? Like, shit is crazy, bro.
You might get to a point where it happens on the daily, because it happens on the daily for me. Literally, like whenever I go out, it's just kind of a sad reality. But yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I want to say there's just no consequences in the West. Whereas, for example, in Ethiopia, if you're a young dude and you try to get at a girl your age, like, and you haven't married her and gone through all that, like, you will get beat up. You will, you have to be like exiled, or like you would have to suffer severe consequences. But it's just the modern day in the West, like anything goes, and there's no consequences to it.
Yeah, that's the big.
Shame wise.
Well, even then, they don't feel shame. Like, I've straight up told a woman, multiple women, like, I'm not a trick, and I didn't think you were a prostitute. And they were offended that I thought that they were a prostitute, but they weren't offended that they were acting like a prostitute. Like, they were just offended that I thought that about them. They weren't offended that of their sexual what's the term I'm thinking? Escapades. Yeah, they weren't offended at me seeing their sexual escapades. They were offended that I thought they were a prostitute. Auntie.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to comment that, Angel was speaking about this, and you, Tadeusz, that like the woman choosing you over in front of the boyfriend, and yes, it is very disrespectful, of course. And I think this is a good reason why we men must have more backbone in the West, because who else is going to fix that? We first has to, as the Bible says, how can you judge somebody if you yourself have something in your eye? So we first take the bad things away from ourselves, like getting away from the porn stuff and all of these bad things, and like I don't know how to like explain it better, but like my point was that getting more backbone and not tolerating this kind of behavior. So I believe if men lead in this way, the woman will follow, and we will no longer have that kind of behavior.
Absolutely. Angel?
Nah, don't get me wrong. Like, personally, me, I seen women, that were actually respectful. But the problem is that they always get cheated on. Like the real ones, the ones that, because I remember my dad was telling
Thank
me a
you.
story. There was a guy that worked at my dad's job. Yo, this dude had the best wife that any man could ask for. She was cooking for him, cleaning for him. She didn't even cheat on him or nothing. And then next, for a one night stand, bro, he destroyed all of that. And I remember everybody in the job found out what happened, and everybody couldn't believe it, because like they were saying like this girl was like mad respectful. She was like, she didn't play no games. She would cook for him and all that. And then my dad like was saying like Well, see, that's why I told my daughters not to cook for anybody. This and that, so the same shit don't happen to them. That's what I realized. If you're too catering, like let's say if you're a female, you're too catering to your to a man, they're gonna take advantage of that. You see what I'm saying? And that's the reason why, like, I see why most of these women are acting up now because that they probably got their heart broken by some Tyrone or Pookie or Chad, whatever you want to call it. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a program if you think about it. It's called the heartbreak tactic. That's what it's called. They get their heart broken repeatedly to the point it changes them.
Yeah.
Men and women. That's why you got women. That's why you got women haters and you got men haters. The feminists and
Misandrous.
Yeah, those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another good point, and yeah, the whole women like being too submissive. Like women are sometimes afraid to be too submissive because they think that that's going to happen. And it's like if you chose a guy that actually was leading you toward God, that would not happen. It's not going to happen. No godly man is going to look at a woman who takes care of herself, does what he says to do, and then listens and is intimate with him, etc. in the long-term relationship, and think to himself like, you know what? I'm gonna go cheat on this. Like I'm gonna, like no godly man's gonna do that. No godly man's gonna think that way. So yeah. Anyway, Philip.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact chapter and verse here where Marcus Aurelius talks just about that sexual temperance. It's controlling your sexual urges is very much a masculine thing, and you've talked about numerous times in your videos how women, you've said no to women, and they've said like, well, that's the first time anybody's ever said no to me.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's really us men have to lead that and not allow that behavior to happen. And plus, but I think what a lot women need to do is if a man comes along that's a decent prospect, she needs to have some other strong men who can't possibly have a romantic interest in her. She needs to bring that man, to these other men almost like in front of a tribunal, and because good men will see right through the BS right away. They'll just see it. And a woman has to accept the fact that if these men say no to this guy, she's got to cut him loose. I don't care how many felony convictions he has, how many sleeve tattoos and face tattoos he's got, and because I'm sorry, ladies, you like those kind of guys. But,
Yep.
But if all the other good men say no, not this guy, you got to cut him loose because they'll see it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing is it's the stimulation of emotion. But what you say is also true about sexual temperance being a masculine trait for men specifically, like being able to control those sexual urges. And I've seen so many men quit semen retention, quit life goals, ambitions, all because they fell into lust. Like it's crazy. Angel?
Yeah. I want to say this real quick. Like, times has changed because I had OGs tell me like, when you're around women, don't talk, because he was saying like, we live in a time where pretty much like men treat women like they're friends and shit, and they're not attracted to that. You see what I'm saying? Like all they care about is you leading, and that's it. You see what I'm saying? That's why most of the Jezebels that I used to be cool with back in the day, they all fucked with me. You know why? Because I used to lead. You know what I'm saying? Like, they will hit me up, be like, yo, what you trying to do? And I'm like, yo, pull up. Yo, we about to get some food. We about to do this. We about to do that. And then their feminine side comes out. And they're not used to seeing that. They even said, they're like, yo, I never met a man like you. That's what they would say. You see what I'm saying? They're not used to that. They're not used to somebody like taking the leadership role and like rolling with it. You see what I'm saying? They just used to see his simps all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one woman distinctly that Philip kind of mentioned about what he's heard in my videos. It was a 22, 23-year-old woman, and she told me that she's never been told no by a man in her life. Can you and all that I could think of in that moment was, can you imagine walking the earth for 2 decades plus, never being told no by the opposite gender? No matter, no wonder their egos are just through the roof, man. It's not a surprise. That sounds dope. It does sound pretty good, huh? Yeah. Okay. So a few things that I wanted to definitely touch on was this verse right here. This was from Book 9, verse 41. He says, "When I was sick," says Epicurus, "I did not discourse to my visitors about my diseases or the torment I was troubled with. No, my system of natural philosophy was a part of my subject, and my main concern was that my mind, although it partakes in these disturbances of the body, should remain calm and maintain its own good. I gave no handle to the doctors to brag of their confession and what they did for me, but held on with fortitude and indifference." So, I'm not going to read the whole thing here just because of the sake of time, but do you think then that we can truly maintain inner tranquility and focus on the wisdom of pursuit, or the pursuit of wisdom rather, regardless of bodily suffering and external misfortune? Because it seems to me like sickness can actually enhance that sometimes. Yeah, Daniel?
Well, I think it's definitely possible, but it's definitely a struggle to find that inner peace and to hold on to it and go throughout your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we've been talking about. A lot of people don't know how to get that inner peace, that tranquility, so they derail their life physically from mental issues, from mental problems, because they can't handle it mentally. Then they physically just crumble.
Mm. Yeah, well, that goes in line with what Marcus Aurelius said at the beginning, was that everything starts and enters through the mind. Philip?
Well, a great example of that is the Apostle Paul. He had an affliction. I mean, the Bible just calls it an affliction, doesn't say what. And Paul repeatedly asked God to remove that affliction, and God says, "No, my grace is sufficient for thee."
Mm.
So there's a perfect example of, you just keep going even if your body's not working right.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make it fun or easy, but you just have to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, do we actually know what so nobody knows the exact affliction?
No. I mean, there's some people that say leprosy, but, people were well acquainted with that. So, no, nobody has any real idea as to what it was. It was something that was visible and obvious. That's all we really know.
Interesting. Auntie? We can barely hear you.
Okay, do you hear me now better?
Much better.
Okay. I am not sure if I understood you correctly, but I want to comment that I think if you want to try find the truth, and you have a lot of struggles in your life, but you push through them, it will make you better. But yes, I am not sure if I understood correctly, but yes.
Yeah, so could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, so I think, all kind of if you're trying to find the truth, you are trying to find the truth, and you struggle, because I think nobody comes to the truth except through struggling in this world. And when you have your struggles and you push through the struggles, it will eventually get your mindset like good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, that's something that you see time and time again in all different kinds of religions, is where on the other side of pain is beauty of a godly kind. Okay, we've got 5 minutes left here. Let's do one more here. This one I thought was pretty interesting as well. The mind is invincible when she turns to herself and relies upon her own courage, and in that case there is no forcing her will, though she has nothing but obstinacy for her defense. What then must her strength be when she is fortified with reason and engages upon thought and deliberation? So Marcus Aurelius seems to suggest that the mind is a feminine force to some degree, and when the mind has an impregnable security for a man, then she is fortified with reason. This kind of reminds me of also of Beyond Good and Evil, when Nietzsche opens with this quote. He says, "Suppose truth is a woman, what then?" Daniel?
I just had a question. That brought up a question, the passage you just read. What's your idea on self-consciousness? And, for example, you know, we live, like in the Bible it says, keep your eyes straight and your mind, and we've talked about from the other philosophers we've read, basically live in the moment, and Marcus Aurelius says this too. So, but, like, because I remember when I first smoked weed, I became so self-aware, like self-conscious, and it kind of just like derailed, like it's like losing focus on the truth. So I just wanted to hear, like, what's your interpretation of being aware of things that are really, at the end of the day, are meaningless, but yet you don't stay in your mind. You start analyzing the world and yourself and where you are in the physical and spatial terms.
Well, I think that's in of itself the seeking of truth. Like, self-awareness is a seeking of truth. Whereas sometimes what happens to people is the truth that they once thought was true no longer is true. And so now they have to analyze, they have to look at things from a new lens. Otherwise, they're not going to be seeing what's actually happening before them. I'm sure everybody's heard the term like lizard eyes or serpent eyes, where you can actually sometimes see, like, people have like these reptile eyes, and it's a very spiritual event for you, right? It's very, like, you can see there's like this this lizard brain in the other person. It doesn't stay there. Sometimes it's just like a glimpse, and you'll kind of like, whoa, what? And then they turn back into the person that they seem to be, but you can still see the demons. I would say that self-awareness in of itself is a form of truth-seeking. Okay, well, it looks like we've got under a minute left here. Very solid conversation and discourse today. I hope that everybody found this to be fruitful. We're going to be doing our last call for this series next week. Just go ahead and finish up the rest of meditations. It'll be book 10 through 12. And we'll be able to wrap everything up next week and talk about what's going on going forward. And with all that being said, peace be with you all, and have a blessed rest of your day.
God bless.